Now, UNDP, as I mentioned earlier on, has been there from the beginning up to the end. I mean, not up to the end, up to now.
To now.
From where you sit, is Africa integrating or disintegrating?
That's a very tall order. Very challenging question. Is the world integrating? That's the question, because looking at the kind of crisis, conflict we have all over.
Absolutely.
And looking at the rising trend of nationalism across the world, we can say we're deglobalizing.
Right.
And once the world is heavily affected by that, every constituent part of the world is equally affected. Right. So that's that's the starting point.
But Doc, I mean, if you look at, I mean, yes, we can talk about the global level, but now Africa, with a clear intention of creating a regional bloc for us. Here you are, the ECOWAS, for example, just finished their 37th or so meeting.
Yes.
Niger, Burkina, Mali, all those countries were absent from the meeting. Now, there was a threat that they were even not going to allow goods coming from other ECOWAS countries into their region. Now, so are we going forward? Are we at a standstill? Are we not being bold enough in addressing some of the critical issues that would advance the ideals of the African Continental Free Trade Area? Or are we just pretending like ostriches?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. The practicality of integration is one of the challenges we are really grappling with. Now, you can't be talking about integration while the constituent part is disintegrating.
Absolutely.
That's the starting point.
Sure.
And that's why I want to use the opportunity to call on the African leaders to apply wisdom.
That's your camera.
Yes, to apply wisdom. We need to really apply wisdom in the sense that because in our local, my local language, once you say this firewood is not good, you keep on removing them from the fire spot. At the end, there will not be fire left in the fire spot.
Absolutely.
So to avoid that, we need to really find a way of accommodating and then listen to every constituent part. Because when there is smoke, there is fire somewhere.
Absolutely.
And we should not really block our mind to the extent that we don't want to listen to those that are agitating for change. Change is the only inevitable thing in human life.
Sure.
So I strongly believe that the idea of having Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali pulling out of ECOWAS is an unfortunate thing.
Very.
And we have to apply wisdom. And this is why I strongly believe we need to listen not only to the political leadership, but our traditional institutions leadership, because they have very strong role in bringing these people together.
Absolutely.
And we cannot say there's full-fledged ECOWAS when those ones are saying we are pulling out.
Absolutely.
So, and I strongly believe we need to listen to them and then reach a kind of consensus on how to lift the region forward. Because this is something that, don't think it's purely a political problem.
No, it's not.
It has economic ramifications.
Absolutely. And even social.
And social ramifications. So we have to look at it from a development lens.
Sure.
And we need to really make sure we bring them together. But in terms of the African Continental Free Trade Area, I think we need to really roll up our sleeves and be more pragmatic in dealing with it. If you do not have adequate rule of origin that says at least 75% of those goods must be produced in Africa locally, where the 25 can come from outside.
Right.
If you don't have that rule of origin, it will be a child's play.
Absolutely.
2, we have to ensure that there is what we call compensation mechanism. Because in free trade area, there are losers and there are gainers and winners. So if you don't accommodate the loss of the losers, they will stop it.
Absolutely.
And I know most of the big economies, they're thinking about how do we really address the possibility of losing out. So that's why the issue of compensatory mechanism becomes very practical, and it's a major instrument of operationalizing continental free trade area.
But where you sit, look, why are we not? Oh, of course, Africa is not too old on the block, but if we don't start addressing these issues from the start, how are we going to make progress? So what is stopping us from addressing some of these teething problems?
Well, that's why one of the reasons why we are really trying to see how we can start on a very good footing.
Right.
Because the way we are going, we're focusing more on the euphoria of signing that agreement. But we are not thinking about how do we effectively operationalize it. Sure. And that's why, as a development expert, I think about how do we operationalize it. And those are the kind of thing we need to focus more attention on.
Right.
And like I said earlier on, we need to really think about mindset of Africans. Yeah, anywhere you go to, whether north or south, east or west, or even central, we have penchants for goods and services that come from outside the continent.
Sure.
And we look down on goods and services that are produced within Africa as inferior items. No country or continent does that and succeed.
Yeah.
So we need to change that mind, where locally produced items is really, really advocated for. And that's why also we are preaching for the opportunity for us to invest heavily on making sure we change the mindset of Africans so that they start producing what they consume and start consuming what they produce on the continent.